Something tells me I'm wrong.
Something tells me I'm wrong. Not the first time. Today's music, by the way, is The Action. They had one album in 1967. Listen to it. All 15 songs totally rock. For the next topic, though, let me go ahead and move on. A bunch of socialist pigs in the Middle East took billions of dollars from their citizens and put it into Citigroup. Sounds a little bit like the Fed taking our tax dollars and injecting them into the banking system. Hey, how come we don't get a stake in Citigroup with all of our tax dollars going in there? Let's give a warm happy hour cheer to David Weidner. Weidner?
Weidner.
Weidner from MarketWatch. How you doing, David?
I'm good. You want a piece of me?
Nice to meet you. I mean, later, I do. We're going down, man.
Tracy Burns, your referee.
I'm taking the gloves off because we do have a little bit of beef to go through. But before we go too harsh, let's stick with the Citigroup thing. You had a great article today. How about that? Did you hear that compliment? You had a great article today, David, that talked about why Citigroup should not or should be broken up.
Should.
And you think it'd make a lot of sense for the market price itself, for Citigroup shareholders?
Well, I think right at this point in time, they got to work through some of their issues first. I mean, they've got balance sheet problems, these SIVs. I mean, this whole subprime mess. They've got to write down, find out what needs to be written down and write it down. They need to move through that. They need to find a CEO. That would be nice. It's good to have a boss around to make some decisions. They need to lay off these people. They need to get their house in order. But I think down the road, a breakup is the best course of action for investors. They can't run this thing.
Wait, we should back up, though, and talk about first how Chuck Prince sort of inherited a mess from Sandy Weill back when they merged with Travelers Group. So, like, people have to understand that there's a lot going on here with this company.
And I think Chuck Prince did a very good job, honestly. I think he cleaned up the ethical issues at the company. He got some of their underperforming businesses. He did divest some of those, and he cleaned up the company. But here's the thing, it's too big, it's too unwieldy. He can't manage it.
You can't even say he cleaned it up when they were sitting there hiding hundreds of billions of dollars off-balance sheet.
No, but wait, that aside, because everyone is doing that. You can't blame Citi for that.
I can blame it. Just because everyone else is being evil doesn't make it okay for Citigroup to be evil.
I don't think it's evil. I think it's ignorance. Nobody knows what's going on.
It's evil to hide it.
Back to the merger, though. We had duplication of processing, duplication of expenses. Like, the merge never actually went well. Why couldn't someone come in, streamline the place without breaking it up?
Because it's so big, you have to put out a fire in Japan. You have to put out a fire in Europe. You have to put out a fire in Asia. You know, the issue is that it's too big for one single person to be on top of all the time.
Well, and the morale's
David,
horrible.
I got to crack some knuckles here. Take the gloves off. I really want to understand something here. You wrote an article back in May, and in it you literally wrote, "Here's hoping that Warren Buffett isn't with us as chief executive of Berkshire Hathaway for much longer, or at least that he has a change of heart. Quote, the world will be better off." And I went after you immediately on thestreet.com because I had this to say. Oh, do I have a flip it for David Weidner. The world will be better off when David Weidner is gone. My point being, the fact is that
I'm still here, baby.
Your point.
I'm still here.
Warren Buffett has built up a value of $36 billion that he has contributed to this world, and he is now actually giving it away. But more to the point, he was channeling capital into places like Sudan and Darfur that are desperately needing capitalism.
Cody, I got to tell you, I really admire you. It takes a lot of courage to come on TV and defend genocide. I mean, I think that's...
Which is exactly what you're doing when you say that Warren Buffett should be dead.
You suggest that by investing in the Sudan, that somehow is going to solve the problems there.
Isolation is the alternative, and isolation is never good for genocide. Isolation begets genocide. Investment kills genocide.
Cody, we should have invested in Nazi Germany to prevent the Holocaust. I think that might have been. That's the same sort of reasoning.
That is not the same sort of reasoning whatsoever.
Warren Buffett knows well that PetroChina is investing in the Sudan.
Thank goodness somebody's investing in the Sudan.
And the Sudan is profiting and looking the other way, and the regime there has no reason to crack down on the atrocities that are happening there.
And they won't ever have a reason until we, as capitalists, we as the developed world, move into places like Sudan so that there's an actual presence, there's a vested interest, there is actual virtuous cycles that
This isn't about poverty in the fields like in China, where you have a growing middle class. This is about rape and murder.
That's exactly my point. We need to do something right now, not leave.
Well,
you want everyone to sell
Cody,
and leave.
you don't funnel
leave Sudan
money
alone. Sell away
to
from
murderers.
China. You do not go into and deal with the government itself. You have to go in and start investing. You have to go in and start buying places. The alternative, once again, is you guys are wanting Warren Buffett to leave Sudan. That's one less guy who has a hell of a heart that now doesn't care about Sudan. You got Rolls-Royce to sell all of their assets in Sudan, so now Rolls-Royce doesn't care what happens in Darfur. I want these places in there.
Warren Buffett doesn't even agree with you. He's trying
absolutely,
to...
he does. If you will go read his article, he says these people who are fighting for divestment out of Sudan, what are they actually, what is the end game? What do they actually want, David?
Warren Buffett is pretending that PetroChina has nothing to do with what's happening in the Sudan. Warren Buffett was on Fox Business, and he said, everybody in China, if you're doing business with anybody in China, it's like doing business with these people in Darfur. That's still how does that
right? He's absolutely
How does that make it right?
Doing anything in China, you are involved with the Chinese capitalist, I call them communists, but the communists who run China. Anyone who's investing in China is dealing with the same group that is dealing with the guy that is keeping the power in Sudan.
Right. There's a difference between toy makers in a factory in Shanghai and actually profiteering on Sudanese oil, which is keeping that regime in power, which is keeping the rape and killing going.
No, it is you guys trying to get everybody to leave. It is isolationism that begets that genocide and the rape and the murder.
I say send them a message the only way they know how, in their pocketbook. The same way I would send a message to you.
And you know how you do that? You invest. You go in and you get all of the Americans. I'm actually going to I'm creating a mutual fund called Blood in the Streets Mutual Fund. And the entire idea is that anyone out there watching they do care about Darfur. They do care about Sudan.
Right.
How do you make them actually pay attention? They need to have a vested interest.
By profiting off it. Yeah, that's a great idea.
It worked for the British in America, right? It worked for America in Europe, right? We have to start somewhere. Without starting somewhere, all you do is isolate and allow the powers that be to continue raping, murdering, and genocide.
If the world was run by these gentlemen, we would get nowhere.
Thanks, David.
We've got plenty more on tap, including some risky stock picks you've got to hear from our designated investor.
And most important, just keep writing about it. Keep writing about it. We both need